What can I do when the boss has a hidden agenda? That question came up in a recent webinar, and no doubt about it, that is a tough question. But there is an answer. That's coming up. Hello, everybody. This is Mike Friedenberg from MasteringOnlineMeetings.com, where we help you take meetings that are work and turn them into meetings that do work. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get notification each time I release a video. Today, we're looking at a question that came up in a friend's webinar recently about what to do when the boss has a hidden agenda. No doubt about it, that is a tricky situation, one that requires a carefully planned solution. But first, let me be transparent with you. Because the question has some significant risk for the person who asked it, what I've done is hired a voiceover artist to read a transcription of the question, and I've blurred out the face of that participant. So let's get right to it and see what his situation is and maybe what we all can learn about how to handle that kind of difficult moment in a relationship with a boss.
I'm from Iraqi Kurdistan. Earlier you mentioned a problem that is an elephant in the room. We have that problem with my boss. It is an elephant in the room because we cannot talk about it. If we do, the boss maybe can use his or her power to remove us from our job. So what is the solution for this kind of situation when our boss is a source of a lot of problems, but we cannot talk about it?
And the reason you can't talk is he's not responding? Is that, help me understand what the exact question is you're asking.
For example, I'm working in an office and my boss may not wanting to solve the problems we have because if he or she solves the problem, that may affect their power. So we cannot solve problems because the boss stops things from happening. If we give them option and solution for solving a problem, implementing them may affect him or her because of they lose power. So we know it is an elephant in the room, but no one can talk about it.
Well, I was just typing a
I
note
figured that, yeah.
to-
I appreciate your help.
to Talib. So Talib, you've got like one of the worst problems there is because the boss has positional power over you, and the boss has an incentive system to not be responsive to you because it affects them outside of your work life, their power base or whatever that might be. And so I want to do two things. One is I just want to have you acknowledge that you are in a situation that is extraordinarily difficult to resolve. It is not your fault if you can't resolve it. It's still your difficulty to deal with the consequences that come out of that, but you don't own responsibility to fix the boss's behavior because they're driven by an incentive system you don't control. So get that in your mind that you can only do the best you can, and that's it. But here is a more concrete intervention solution you might think about, and I have no idea about your circumstances and whether this is at all within the realm of possibility. But I've had some pretty good success by putting the boss, the problem boss, in competition with his or her peers. And the most common way I do that is structure some kind of discussion process or some kind of forum or some kind of meeting that is brought together to do a joint solution finding conversation. So instead of it being you against the boss who's unresponsive for those incentive systems, now you've got this collective conversation and the boss is in a room where his or her peers are at, and those peers are helping you or whoever's running that meeting craft a broader solution that is really all about problem solving for the issue involved, not problem avoidance by the boss because of their fears about losing status and power, whatever that might be. So the shortstop way to describe this idea is if you have at all the possibility, bring together a meeting, a forum, a discussion group, conclave, whatever that might look like, and structure it. Either you facilitate it or get a neutral party to facilitate that is again, putting everybody against the problem statement you have, whether it's ineffective purchasing or ineffective response to crisis. I don't know what your work life is. Put that problem on the table and get the group with the boss in competition with his or her peers to attack that problem together. Now, that's a lot to be said, but that's just one idea that seems to work pretty well for me.
Yes, that's right, Michael. So we can even make allies in the office against the boss in order to change the behavior of the boss.
That's down so yes, and that's a long-term goal, but my encouragement is don't attack that initially, because the boss is going to feel attacked and that will generate potentially a response against you. What you want is that first blush is to be attack against the problem. And then later, all of these behavioral modifications you're talking about with ally building and coalition building, all those kinds of things can develop over time. If right out of the blocks, so if you were my boss and I was saying, boss, you're wrong, I want you to make a change and I want you to make that change permanently, no matter how softly I said that, my guess is I would spark a defensive reaction in you. You just need to be mindful that that's an element to be managed, but the way initially around that is to get something set up so you attack the problem you've got, not the other person. Dealing with the other person's behavior comes later.
Yes, thank you, Mike. It's so nice to be my secret super guest on this and tackle the really hard stuff, because you're so very good at that.
Well, Taleb's challenge is to figure out how to make progress despite the hidden agenda. Here's a metaphor I use when I teach people how to mediate conflicts that might be helpful. We can usually make some kind of positive forward progress when we are successful at putting the people involved in a conflict on one side of the table and put the problem on the other side of the table, and then get all the people together to attack the problem instead of attacking each other. And that's what I meant when I offered my advice to Taleb about figuring out some way to put the boss in competition with his or her peers. If you can get that person involved with their peers to attack a common problem, then you can often find a way around a hidden agenda, because the boss is going to have a more difficult time pursuing that hidden agenda if they have to justify it to people other than their subordinate. So if you find yourself in that similar situation, then consider how you can define a problem that everybody can get around and try to resolve, and then metaphorically put them on one side of the table, the problem on the other side of the table, and then invite a positive discussion about how to resolve that problem to make forward progress. If you'd like to know more about managing difficult conversations, Betty has courses on communication skills for success and courses on how to be a better boss, including how to be a better boss in the virtual environment. Check out our website today. And that's it for this Best Management Practice. Thanks very much for watching. Be sure to keep in touch and let me know what you're doing to master online meetings. And be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get notification each time I release a video. I'll see you in the next video.